Think you know Africa? Oh, you watched one documentary in 1998 and now you're an expert? Cute. From outdated stereotypes to full-blown fictional tales, there are tons of misconceptions about Africa that just won't quit. In today's episode of Africa's Top Tier, we're calling out the top 10 misconceptions about Africa that need to be dragged into the daylight and permanently retired. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for content that actually gets it right. Let's get started, shall we? At number 10 is the infamous Africa is a country. Oh yes, everyone's favorite geography fail. Spoiler alert, Africa is a continent. Not one big homogeneous country with lions as traffic cops. It's made up of 54 completely different nations. That's right, 54, with their own presidents, cultures, cuisines, and brace yourself, borders. Lumping all of Africa into one country ignores its incredible diversity in language, government, climate, landscape, and people. For instance, Morocco in the north looks nothing like South Africa at the southern tip. Senegal is Francophone and West African, while Ethiopia is one of the only African countries never colonized and uses a completely different calendar system. So next time someone says, I went to Africa, please follow up with, you mean which country in Africa? Because you wouldn't say you went to Asia and expect us to guess whether you went Tokyo or Mumbai. At number 9, Africans live in huts and jungles. This myth is straight out of a 1950s colonial postcard. In reality, Africa is one of the fastest urbanizing regions in the world. Cities like Nairobi, Lagos, Addis Ababa, and Kigali are buzzing with high-rise buildings, public transport systems, modern shopping centers, and startup hubs. Even in rural areas, you'll find homes with concrete walls, metal roofs, electricity, solar panels, and Wi-Fi. Let's be real. Just because some homes use locally available materials doesn't make them primitive. It makes them sustainable and resourceful. And that jungle image? Most Africans live nowhere near a jungle. Africa has deserts, grasslands, mountains, savannas, cities, lakes, you name it. The real jungle is this outdated narrative. At number 8, Africa is poor and always in need of aid. Yes, poverty exists in Africa. It also exists in LA, London, and Sydney. But when it comes to Africa, the world often fixates on poverty like it's the only thing happening. That's not just wrong, it's lazy and dangerous. Africa is home to some of the fastest growing economies on the planet. Countries like Ghana, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Kenya have seen consistent GDP growth over the past decade. There are African billionaires, mega startups, thriving tourism industries, and tech innovation that's solving real-world problems. Foreign aid is a part of the story, yes. But increasingly, Africa is turning to intra-African trade, investment in infrastructure, fintech, agri-tech, and renewable energy to take control of its development. Africa is not waiting to be rescued, it's building its own future. At number 7 is the fact that Africans don't speak English or French. Here's the thing, if you grew up speaking only one language, you're already behind most Africans. Many Africans speak 3 to 4 languages with ease. Colonial history introduced European languages like English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, which are now official or widely spoken in many African countries. Nigeria, for example, has over 500 local languages, but English is the official language used in schools, media, and government. In Cameroon, people often switch between French, English, Pidgin, and local dialects effortlessly. And in North Africa, Arabic is dominant, plus French is often spoken fluently. Language is not a limitation in Africa, it's a superpower. It reflects the continent's deep cultural richness and adaptability. At number 6, African countries are all dangerous or war-torn. If you only watch international news, you'd think Africa is one endless battlefield. But let's be clear, conflict zones exist, but they do not define the entire continent. Africa is huge, bigger than the US, China, India, and most of Europe combined. Painting all of it with one brush is just irresponsible. There are cities like Windhoek in Namibia, Gaborone in Botswana, Accra in Ghana, and Port Louis in Mauritius that are not only peaceful, but ranked high in safety, livability, and quality of life. In fact, millions of tourists travel to Africa every year to experience its culture, history, and natural beauty safely. And yes, there are places experiencing political instability or violence, just like Ukraine, parts of the US, and even Europe. Let's be fair and nuanced, not sensationalist. At number 5, Africa lacks innovation and technology. Time to retire this lazy take. Africa isn't innovative and doesn't use modern tech. Wrong on both counts. Africa is bursting with innovation out of both necessity and brilliance. Kenya's M-Pesa transformed mobile money. Rwanda and Ghana use zipline drones to deliver blood and vaccines to remote areas. And let's talk tech. In places where landlines and brick-and-mortar banks never existed, Africa jumped straight to mobile phones, mobile banking, and fintech. There are coding schools in Lagos, AI startups in Kigali, and digital marketplaces across North Africa. People are working remote jobs, doing TikTok challenges, creating viral YouTube channels like this one, and yes, building apps, launching tech hubs, and raising millions in startup capital. Africa isn't catching up. In many ways, it's leapfrogging ahead. At number 4, African culture is one-dimensional. Africa's culture is anything but one size fits all. The continent is home to more than 1.4 billion people with thousands of ethnic groups, each boasting distinct languages, religions, rituals, fashion, art, and music. From Berber architecture in Morocco to Zulu beadwork in South Africa, from the Afrobeat vibes of Nigeria to the folklore traditions of Ethiopia, every region has a story and a style of its own. African fashion is trending worldwide. African cuisine is being fused into Michelin star menus, and African music is topping global charts. There is no such thing as a single African culture. There are thousands of cultures, and each one is vibrant, evolving, and worth celebrating. At number 3, African food is inedible or too strange. Here's a spicy one, literally. Some people think African food is weird, inedible, or just too out there. Let me guess. You've never had anything more seasoned than boiled chicken, eh? African cuisine is incredible, full of flavor, culture, and variety. Ever heard of peri-peri chicken from Mozambique? It's spicy, smoky, and absolutely legendary. Or how about jollof rice? West Africa's most delicious and most debated dish. You've got injera with spicy lentils and stews in Ethiopia. Moroccan tagines, slow cooked with apricots and almonds. Bunny chow in South Africa, yes. Curry served in bread. Suya skewers from Nigeria. Yassa chicken from Senegal. And chakalaka for that extra kick. Every region has its own flavor profile, cooking method, and comfort food. African food isn't just edible, it's elite. So instead of asking, what is that? Maybe ask, where can I get more of that? At number 2, African wildlife roams everywhere. Let's clear this up once and for all. Africa does have amazing wildlife, but you won't see elephants hanging out at the corner store. Wild animals are not part of the daily commute unless you work in a national park. Cities like Johannesburg, Nairobi, and Abuja have busy roads, business districts, and nightlife, not roaming herds of zebra. Want to see lions? You book a safari. You go to a game reserve. You do not run into them at the local supermarket. Let's stop treating Africa like it's one giant zoo. Respect both the urban experience and the ecological diversity, but don't confuse the two. And finally, at number 1, Africa is hopeless or backward. And now the most harmful misconception of them all, that Africa is a hopeless, backwards place. This narrative has been fed by decades of colonial propaganda, biased media coverage, and plain old ignorance. The truth? Africa is full of young, dynamic, educated, and forward-thinking people. African cities are innovating in clean energy, fashion, music, fintech, and agriculture. African entrepreneurs are creating jobs. African artists are shaping global culture. African scientists are conducting world-class research. It's not all sunshine and roses. No place is. But to call Africa hopeless is to ignore its potential, its progress, and its power. The future isn't waiting for Africa. Africa is the future. It's time to flip the script and start seeing Africa for what it really is. Bold, brilliant, and bursting with potential. Which of these myths have you heard before? Or even believed? Be honest. Drop it in the comments. And if you're ready to leave outdated stereotypes behind, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more myth-busting content from Africa's top tier. Catch you next time.